Hello, everybody. We are together here celebrating our second International Mindful Eating Day. And as part of this wonderful celebration that we from the Center for Mindful Eating are bringing to you, are having this privilege of interviewing some of our board members and some other very expert people on the topic of mindful eating. And the topic of this year is nourishing mindful eating. And one segment of that is to talk about how to nourish mindful eating with joy. And for this special topic, I have the privilege to present you to Megrette Fletcher, who is, I can say, very happy to say that she's my friend, but also she is the founder, the co-founder of the Center for Mindful Eating. So to her, we're very thankful because she was the person together with other experts on the topic like Jean Christeller. They were the people who started this journey and have shared with all of us. So Megrette Fletcher, she's a dietitian, an expert on diabetes. She's a diabetes educator. And she's also the author of several very interesting books like Mindful Eating for Kids, which I truly enjoyed, Eat What You Love, Love What You Eat with Diabetes, which she co-authored with Michelle May. And well, if you go to our website, you will find many webinars that she has presented very, very beautifully. So I have the privilege to present you or introduce you to Megrette Fletcher to talk about how to nourish mindful eating with joy. Megrette, I want to say something. The practice of mindful eating, as it has been defined, is this capacity of allowing ourselves to be fully present while we eat, to be aware of the opportunities through the selection of food, the eating, the preparation of food, to be fully present with all of our senses, to also discover and understand and be in contact with our own cues of hunger and satiety, and then to respect that wisdom. And this, for me, sounds already very nourishing, but sometimes I want to say it might be difficult, or it might sound like something difficult to do. So my first question to you would be, how can we nourish mindful eating with joy? How can we make it a practice that is not heavy or difficult, but actually nourishing with joy? What is your experience? What could you please tell us?
It is a great question. And the first one is, I love the idea of how, the question of how. How do I achieve such a lofty, ambitious goal? And we start with focusing in on what works. So I think that that's the first place to do it. Everybody in all of our experiences, we have a tendency to look towards what isn't working. And I think mindfulness is really shifting that experience to say, actually, really learning and recognizing and noticing what is working within your mindful eating practice and doing that more often is a terrific place to start. And it really allows us to just kind of build on that. So that would be something that's really helpful for me. What works? You know, I did this and I had a really yummy, pleasant experience. What could I do again so I could have a really yummy and pleasant experience? But life offers us two teachers, and one tell us what to do, and the other one tells us what not to do. And when we find that we're not having a joyful experience around food and eating, the teacher that's before us is the teacher that's telling us what not to repeat. And you introduced me as a friend, and I really appreciate that, and I value the insight. You helped me so much with my Mindful Eating for Kids book, and your feedback was so appreciated. And I think of that friendship, that connection that we have over our shared passion of mindful eating and working with kids as another way to bring joy into our food and eating process, is to reach out to other people. And when we connect with them and we say, Claudia, it's hard, I'm struggling, what do I do? You go, I've been there. I know that feeling, and I don't feel alone. And I feel the joy of that friendship, of that connection. And when I started the Center for Mindful Eating, that opportunity to meet other people, it wasn't there. And now we interact with over 100,000 people every year, and we have so many programs. It really is, it feels great not to feel alone.
Oh, thank you. So the fact that we can identify those things that are working for us, which might be different from person to person, focus on them, continue to experience, because every experience, every single moment is a new opportunity to learn, to see what works for us. So I like how you say those things that don't work, well, maybe it is not that way. Maybe I should continue this way or explore another way. And then along the path, there might be difficulties. And what I understand from you is that having like a network, having somebody out there doing the same practice, practicing mindful eating, somebody that you can reach out. Maybe at first there's nobody, but you start creating that net, can also sustain and help you nourish the practice of mindful eating with joy, right? So I love that. And talking about that, when I first started practicing mindful eating, well, I felt like all alone because where I live is very new. So not only that, but we live very busy lives, and we might have this network. We might have, I can reach you, or I can reach other members of the Center for Mindful Eating for this support. But in my daily life, I can suddenly start going crazy, going nuts, and that can very easily happen with the automatic pilot. So how do we do it so that we can really take the time to slow down and make that pause and actually take the time to be present while we eat? What would be your suggestion with all your experience? What could you share with us?
I think it begins with permission. So slowing down begins with permission. I give myself permission to nourish myself. And that statement right there, I give myself permission to nourish myself. I give myself permission to nourish myself with joy. I give myself permission. I give myself permission to pause and step out of my busy life. I give myself permission to eat this food with as much joy as I can. It's an imperfect practice. We are imperfect people. And I still get permission to keep going. Despite my imperfections, I give myself permission.
I love that, because I think listening to you, hearing your answer, makes it sounds with me, because I think sometimes we lose the joy of the practice of mindful eating because we're seeking for the perfect way of doing it. So add that to a busy life, that just feels heavy sometimes. Oh, am I really slowing down to taste this bite? Or I already swallow it and I didn't do it, and then, oh, I'm not a good practitioner of mindful eating, So giving myself the permission to see what works with me, or for me, sorry, to be there, to make mistakes, or just to explore and learn, right? So that should bring so much more joy than trying to make it perfect.
And perfect doesn't exist.
Yeah. Yeah, right there. Yes.
It doesn't exist. We are dynamic, changing beings living in a very complex, dynamic world. And this idea that if I eat this one food for lunch, I will be happy, it's false. You may be happy on Tuesday, but not on Thursday. You may be happy in December, but not in May. We are dynamic. We're changing. We have to give ourselves permission to, like you say, discover, to be present, to check in. And permission means letting go of all the shoulds, all the have-tos, all of the internal chatter that is so often in our heads. letting that go, I give myself permission to free myself from the
Mhm.
habitual patterns of acting and thinking,
And
and
also,
over and over again.
yeah, and also, isn't it giving myself permission to see whatever it is that I'm going to find? Maybe in this particular meal, while practicing mindful eating, I discovered such and such about me, my anxieties or my emotions, and that's also okay, right? To be able to feel that and be with that without trying to
Mm,
go for the perfect moment. As you say, there's no perfection. It's so, so, so powerful.
yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
And the beauty of what you discover in this moment is it'll be different tomorrow. It'll be different in 10 minutes. It's changing. And so we get these little glimpses, we get these little nuggets, and if we can receive them and give ourselves permission to receive them with joy and like a blessing, they can help us.
Mm. Mm. So much we can learn when we do this. And well, now I want to ask, you've been a practitioner for I don't know how many years. I read somewhere like since 1999, and also, well, at least 10 years with the Center for Mindful Eating, plus all your practice from before. For somebody like me that is newer, or for somebody that is even newer to the practice, could you please share how have you been able to maintain your mindful eating practice? But not only that, how have you been able to continue to nourishing it with joy? What would you tell us, Megrette?
To be gentle,
Mm,
just be very gentle.
mm,
We are very fragile beings,
mm,
so we must be very gentle with ourselves.
mm, mm,
It's hard to practice. Practice is really making a commitment to change, and I like myself, and I don't actually really want to change. Even if I'm doing something wrong or bad or unhelpful, I like myself, gosh darn it. So as I become aware of my patterns that aren't serving me, as I become aware of my habits that are based in fear, as I become aware of how there are opportunities that I'm afraid to take,
mm,
I have to be very gentle with myself. I have to recognize I'm going at the pace I can, and that there is no such thing as failure.
mm,
And that if I open this up and I say to myself, hmm, why would you stop? What's the benefit of that? If there's benefit in slowing down, if there's benefit from pausing, there's benefit. But that doesn't mean that I'm stopping my journey on mindful eating. It just means that I'm doing what I need.
mm,
I'm always doing what I need. I'm always doing what's kind for me. I'm always being gentle and handling the change process with as much grace and kindness as I can.
mm, mm. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because I love what you said that sometimes I might need to slow down, and that doesn't mean that I am abandoning my practice. I am taking care. It's all that's being mindful right there, right? Being
Yes.
able to find what is really what we need or what we're needing in this moment, and to take care of ourselves. It brought me back the word permission that you mentioned before. Give myself
Mm.
permission to continue, to be, to live, to be here, to be fully aware.
Mm.
Ah, thank you
Uh,
so much, Miguel. Thank you for being you. Thank you to the universe for having a Migret for us and for starting this wonderful journey that we are all now following. I gotta say, it was you. It was your voice that brought me to the
mm.
Center for Mindful Eating. I will never, never forget that. And I heard the first webinar I heard of you, and I was like, I want to hear more. I wanted more. And well, now here we are celebrating our second International Mindful Eating Day. And I'm very,
Yay.
very, 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 very thankful for and honored to be interviewing you. Thank you for being so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And well, so for all of you who are listening to this interview, don't miss the rest of our interviews and all the programs that we have for this second International Mindful Eating Day. Explore our website. You will find beautiful things there. Believe me, you just have to give yourself the permission to go and look and find what may help you. We're here to serve you. So thank you, and thank you to Kuka for helping us having this wonderful interview. Bye bye to everybody, and have a wonderful and mindful day.